Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. This is the GO Committee work session. We're starting a little late because we were in another joint session and kind of went on a little longer than we expected. Yes. There we go. So we have a few items this afternoon. 8 to be exact. So we're going to try to move through these and get started. Our first item is a resolution to approve the tax-supported fiscal plan summary for FY 20 to 25 Public Services Program. We do have Mr. Smith that can walk us through some of the points, and welcome Ms. Beck and Mr. Hagedorn as well, in case we have questions. Mr. Smith.
Sure. So the county charter requires that the executive each year submit a 6-year fiscal plan and a public services program, and the council by 5 votes needs to approve such a plan around or during the budget. And like many years, the council approves this during June to give OMB opportunities to update the fiscal plan based on the final decisions in May. So the fiscal plan that you see, a summary that you see on pages Circle 3 and Circle 4 is that updated summary that reflects the council's decision they made on May 23rd this year. The council approves this resolution like it's been doing many years, and based on its own resolution 17312, which lays out a lot of the fiscal policies. And this is, again, a balanced budget that the council approves. And this fiscal plan, like all fiscal plans, is a point in time. We will receive another update in December, as always, and then the fiscal plan will be updated one more time in March when the executive recommends a budget for fiscal 21. For the sake of time, I'll just note the assumptions for this fiscal plan are on Circle 3 in the notes. The biggest one there is, as always, the state aid is unknown at this time, and so it's flatlined. Just out of caution, we know that that will change, but obviously with that intergovernmental aid held constant, that reduces the number of resources in out years. The other point is that, as always, our revenues continue to grow, but not at the levels of what our expenditures have been in more recent years since the Great Recession. And finally, on page 3, my apologies, staff notes the fixed costs that are always built into these fiscal plans. Debt service being one of them. It's shown to grow, but not at the same rate that it has been based on council decisions. PAYGO, which Council's Resolution 17312 has at 10% of the set SAG for the GO bonds. Current revenue for funding for the CIP reserve, which, again, I would be remiss if I don't say that the council will reach its goal of 10% in fiscal 20 based on this fiscal plan. And then finally, OPEB. Council continues to fund OPEB at the requirements that it's set out in Resolution 17312. So council staff recommends approval. This will go to council action on Tuesday, June 25th.
Thank you. And I think as we always say, this is really a snapshot in time. And, things definitely can change and probably will. So we need to track all of that as well. But this is a way for us to at least keep track of just the commitments that we have made and the fiscal policies, targets that we have committed ourselves to achieve. So that's an exercise that we engage in every year. Councilmember Friedson.
Thank you, Council President. I just wanted to thank you and thank the council staff for a lot of the work that we've begun to at least create a framework for. I'm looking forward to those discussions starting in earnest now that we're through the budget and into the summer, into the fall. I know that you have dedicated yourself and committed yourself to this. The full council has dedicated itself to this and reiterated that support. The staff has really been tremendously helpful in thinking through what that conversation could look like, and look forward to working with the executive branch to try to build some consensus around ways that we can resolve these sustainability challenges that we have in our budget. I think we have made strides in recent years, largely, frankly, thanks to my 2 colleagues here on the GO committee who've really pushed the council and to the council president as chair of this committee to really make sure that we were committing to those 3 legs of the stool, the OPEB commitment, the debt and bringing down that debt, which I think we have successfully done and deserve credit for doing that. I don't think it's talked about enough Yeah, exactly. Debt and credit. I won't talk about withdrawals yet. And making sure that we are, that we are following through on that. So I look forward to those conversations. I've repeatedly said, I think we need to make sure that we're not funding ongoing expenses with one-time savings. I think this framework that we can establish over the summer will help do similarly to what we're doing here, which is to put a marker down. This is a public and accountable way and transparent way to start that process, but I look forward to putting in some guardrails that we impose upon ourselves to make sure that we are holding ourselves to the expectation the public has, that we are only spending what we have, that we are funding the budget and providing for our core services and prioritizing in a way that reflects our priorities, but also is realistic in terms of what we actually expect to have, and that we're dealing with the expenses in an appropriate way, in compensation costs, with a budget that has 81% of compensation of personnel being largest line item, and some of the other areas that I think we can continue to build upon the great work that has been done by my colleagues. So just wanted to thank you for that and look forward to the work ahead, and we'll be supporting this. Thanks.
Thank you, Councilmember Fritzen. I'm very excited that you are part of this committee because this is going to be really important work. I want to thank also Gene Smith for, putting together a chart that basically aims to give us a timeline. I know that we're going to get to some very big pieces this summer. I think that realistically, as I looked at the chart, I kind of said, there are probably going to be some items that we're going to have to come back in September and October, because we're very ambitious when we think of the summer, except that the summer is like halfway gone. So we are going to get started this particular summer, and I think it's great that it's all been pretty much delineated, and it has been put in a sequential fashion so that we can get into this really deep conversations and analyses regarding our fiscal policies, our particular targets, as well as some of our practices. And I have no doubt that this will be super important for the county as a whole. Let's see, Council Vice President Katz.
Thank you very much. I just want to say ditto. I think that to the staff, you've done a great job on this. I think that the previous GO committee, the current GO committee, that we realized very early on that debt is going to engulf us unless we are careful. And I think we're starting to send that message. We have a way to go, but I think we're starting to send that message. I think between all the analysis that we're doing, I think we're going to, over time, get there. And I think this is a very good first step, and I appreciate all the work that's being done.
All right, so I think I'm hearing without objection that we can recommend approval of the subject of solution and then go on to full council. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Okay, so item number 2 is a work session for the committee to make a recommendation on Bill 9-19, Consolidated Retiree Health Benefits Trust Delegation of Duties. This is sponsored by myself at the request of the Board of Trustees for the Consolidated Retiree Health Benefits Trust. It was introduced on April 2nd of this year, and a public hearing was held on April 30th. And this bill will allow the Board of Trustees to delegate certain duties as set forth in its written policies. The bill will permit the Board to delegate duties if it deems it appropriate and consistent with its fiduciary duties. This would better align the roles and responsibilities of the board and its staff in the oversight of the investment program and further enhance the efficiency of the operation of the program. The goal of the bill is to provide the board with the necessary authority to meet its fiduciary duties and overseeing the investment program in the appropriate manner. And so we do have here Mr. Drummer, who has drafted the bill, as well as Ms. Herman, who is the Executive Director of the Board of Trustees. Let's see, first, Mr. Drummer, since you drafted the bill in the packet, let us know some of the salient points and decision points as well, and then we can chime in with Ms. Herman.
Okay. As you know, there's 2 boards. We have the Board of Investment Trustees, and they handle the retirement plan assets, and they do the investments. And after, I think it was sometime around 2010 or 11, we created a separate board to handle the OPEB fund, the other post-employment retirement benefits fund. The boards are actually very similar. They're everybody who's on the first board, the retirement board, the Board of Investment Trustees, is also on the OPEB board. But on the OPEB board, since we combined it with the MCPS and Montgomery College, they each have representatives on the board as well. So the board that we're talking about is the Consolidated Retiree Health Benefits Board, which is the OPEB board, which is a little larger than the BIT, the BIT. Back in 2012, the council enacted a bill authorizing a delegation of certain duties to the to the staff for the Board of Investment Trustees. This bill is the same thing for the second board. It's actually the same staff that do both, and in fact, because the retirement fund is so much larger than the OPEB fund, in dollar figures, they often use the same investment managers, and they often piggyback on the smaller OPEB fund manages, is able to get investment managers to handle their investments with smaller sums than they would normally handle, because they're also getting the money from the retirement plan. So it's really something similar to what you've already done in 2012, and it's simply delegating Ms. Herman, who's the executive director for the retirement plans for both boards, can explain it, or answer any questions about the delegation.
Okay. Ms. Herman, anything else you'd like to explain?
No, just that it is similar. It's exactly the same legislation that you passed in 2012 for the defined benefit plan. That's about $4 billion in assets. As you know, the OPEB trust has about $1 billion in assets. So as we're making investments, we're making them side by side.
Right. Okay, thank you. Councilmember Friedson.
Thank you, Council President. Thank you, Ms. Herman, for being here, for the great work that you do. We, particularly on the pension side, we've got a pretty good story to tell. There's some reasons for that. We don't have to go into too much detail. We fixed the outcome a little bit in terms of our fund balance, but our fund balance is very strong. And there's this frequent conversation about pension funds can't work, and I always say, defined benefit plans can work as long as politicians don't break them. By not funding them. And so I think this story, while it's important to talk about, asset allocation and to talk about who makes the decisions, the most important question is, are we funding them appropriately and consistently, and not banking on the success of the market when times are good to underfund because we think we don't need to, and then when times aren't good because we don't have as much funds available, failing to invest when they're needed too, so we miss out on the market's rebound. And that has frequently happened in many pension funds. That's what has happened at the state's pension fund. As you very well know, we've got a better story to tell the state has, and we both have a little bit of experience with that. I just had a couple questions. One, related to this, 2012 we made the change, it sounds like, for the BIT. This is to extend the same change to the OPEB fund. Can you talk about the difference, the improvement that was made by the BIT having this ability, streamline that the staff can have the delegated authority versus the OPEB?
Sure. Part of this, if we go to page 14 of your circle 14 in your packet, that talks a little bit about the decisions that the board's made. And as you can see from the chart, this is for the ERS, but it would be similar for the OPEB trust. About 84% of the return comes from asset allocation, not from manager selection. And then if you look at circle 15, when we started the OPEB trust back in 2008, we only had 3 asset classes: stocks, bonds, and some REITs, real estate investment trust. If you look now, the investment climate is much more complex. We're doing private equity, private debt, private real assets. We have persimmon trees in California and timber in New Hampshire and agricultural land in Oklahoma. We're in hedge funds. We're doing currency overlay programs. So they're very complex. The bulk of our trustees don't have investment background. So as fiduciaries, to decide that this timber manager is the best timber manager in the country is extremely difficult for them. That's why we have a professional investment staff. They're all CFAs. Many of them are MBAs. They have, 10 plus years of experience each in these markets. So the boards are better off spending their time on governance issues as well as asset allocation versus deciding on which manager is the best manager for a particular portfolio.
I think you spoke to an interesting question. I have a little bit of experience in my old job helping to advise the pension fund, which is similar to this, the bit where it's delegated to the investment manager for different reasons, by the way. That was done by the board to protect themselves from the appearance of impropriety of allowing politics to get involved. And there were lots of examples of pension funds with really unfortunate situations, and that clear line was established to essentially prevent that from even seeming like it could happen, even if it wasn't happening here. And the 529 program, of which I was both a board member and the executive director, and we had a chief investment officer and an investment advisor, and that is the board making those decisions. I did sit in on those interviews as a member of the audit and finance committee there, and I saw the benefits of both. I saw the the benefit of having professionals handling it, and the board being focused on more of the forest and less of the trees. But at the 529 program, I saw the benefit of actually having the knowledge of what we were investing billions of dollars of taxpayer money in, and getting more engagement from the board and more interest from the board, of course, with the help of an investment advisor who was hired by the board to provide advice, and then obviously the professional staff as well. But I think you spoke to another point that is interesting to me, and it's not necessarily directly related, but it speaks to this question. The state pension fund is largely, some public officials like the comptroller, the treasurer, the budget secretary, and some representatives of affected parties like public employees, et cetera, but largely but largely private professionals who are appointed to serve on the board. We only have a small number of those. I think we only have two on the bid. I'm just wondering whether you think this is the right composition, or whether you see there would be a benefit from having more outside professional expertise of private sector individuals who actually know the market.
Yeah, having served on the State of Maryland board for 6 years now, I guess, it's comprised of 15 members, 5 of which are employees that have no investment background. It's only comprised of 3 people who have investment background, who day-to-day do investments out of the 15. The treasurer, of course, is involved in finance, but I don't believe she's involved in real estate transactions like we are. On our board, there are 19 people on the OPEB board. 6 are from the schools and college. We have 4 investment professionals, 1 from World Bank, 1 from Lockheed Martin, 1 from a CPA firm, and the other one is National Railroad Retirement Trust. So we have 4 seasoned investment professionals that also staff relies on to inform us, how do you handle these types of transactions? If we're looking to equitize cash, what manager did you use to do that? And give us your experience with that. So we also have financial advisors, consultants that we use in the various asset classes. So I'd say the board's track record for the ERS and the OPEB trust, it's top decile for the 10 years. The the employee retirement system, the defined benefit plan, as you mentioned, is 95% funded. I think that speaks to the success of the members that are on the board and the success of the county in recruiting staff to do a good job. It hasn't necessarily been that way at the state of Maryland, where it's 68% funded, and their performance is in the bottom quartile. Even though we've changed the CIO, we've changed the investment consultants, we're bringing more investment work in-house, so we hope it's going to improve, but it's a struggle.
I share your concerns there.
As a
It's a little bit apples to oranges because we've shut off new members of the pension system here, whereas we continue to have new members there, even though we've changed the formulas. Just last question. If we're largely tying the OPEB trust to the bit in terms of fund managers, we're getting, we're kind of piggybacking off of those deals, which makes a lot of sense. And getting, largely this is the size of your institutional fund in terms of what access you get to what level of sophisticated investment. So I think that's a really positive thing. But what's the need if we're piggybacking off of the fund managers that we're already getting? The main event, the main prize here is the bit. The side show, in terms of if you're looking for, to get large assets in your fund, is OPEB. Unfortunately, I'd like OPEB to be funded at much higher levels and like to get much higher than 21%, where I believe it is now, unless you can correct me if I'm wrong. But what's the need if we're largely mirroring and piggybacking, as was mentioned earlier?
Well, it is piggybacking. Much of what we do, the work we do on a daily, monthly, annual basis is hiring private fund managers. So we're looking for the next Google. We were an earlier investor in Google through our venture capital investments. We probably have, 180 or so companies we invest just in Maryland in the tech side or the IT side through managers, not because we allocate money just to Montgomery County or Maryland. So many of those investment managers wouldn't come down to meet with the OPEB board. The investment's only $1 million. They're not interested in $1 million. But when the ERS is investing $25 million and the OPEB board is willing to invest $1 million, that $26 million makes total sense. So if our best idea is manager A, we want it to be in both trust funds. So it's not necessarily piggybacking, it's just these are our best ideas.
So are you not able to do that based on the current situation where the board has to be involved in the selection of the fund managers? Is that the issue? I'm just trying to understand
Sure.
what's the problem that we're solving. If we're already piggybacking, which makes sense, what are we solving here by changing the delegation of authority for OPEB?
Sure. The OPEB board meets 6 times a year. Many of these private managers raise money very quickly. So we have to conduct all of our due diligence in a month, sign the documents. So many times that timing of that investment doesn't coincide with the board meeting. So the board doesn't have time and loses out on making the investment because the board trying to get 19 people together at an ad hoc meeting just won't work. And the staff has to meet the deadline set by the manager, not the deadline set by the board meetings. So that's part of the problem. The other part of the problem is when the manager comes in, the manager needs to make a presentation. There's only 2 hours for a board meeting. Usually every board meeting we are hiring 2 to 3 managers. That's going to continue because as private investments are made, in a private company, when it goes public, we get paid back, then we need to reinvest that money. So we're constantly hiring managers. There's not enough time at the board meeting for the board to understand this is the best aircraft leasing manager. This is the best timber manager. So as fiduciaries, they have a risk saying they approve this manager when it's the only one they've seen and they know nothing about aircraft leasing. So it's really a fiduciary issue. That's why the state of Maryland, part of the reason the state of Maryland board made the change, and part of the reason why, and it is the reason why the ERS made the change in 2012, their outside legal counsel recommended that they consider making that change.
Thank you.
Okay. All right, so we do have a staff recommendation to approve the bill as introduced. Is there any objection to that recommendation? All right, so we will adopt it as introduced. Thank you so much for being here. Thank you. Okay, item number 3 is a work session on Executive Regulation 9-19, position description, Chief Digital Officer, Office of the County Executive. And the council supported this position when it was when we reviewed it, and we adopted Bill 3-19, Administration Executive Branch Non-Merit Positions. This was on March 19th, 2019. As is stated on the packet, some of the duties included in the position description are: this person will monitor trends in digital government practices and strategies, work with the Department of Technology Services and all others to make recommendations to the CAO related to the county services and digital business, advise on the selection, acquisition, or creation of digital solutions and services or the addition of digital capabilities to existing solutions and services, assist in identifying digital products, services, or customer experiences to broaden constituent and partner engagement and service equity through appropriate digital channels and community selections. All right, so with that, let's see if there's anything else, Ms. Arthur, that you'd like to add.
No, well, you have two other positions later today that are somewhat related, the broadband officer and the data officer. Costas Torregas is going to handle those for you, and so they're sort of along the same lines. But other than that, I don't have anything to add. You approved the position already. The description sounds reasonable for that job.
All right. Dr. Torregas, do you mind coming up to the table very quickly? Because I know that you typically staff the GO committee specifically on technology issues. One of the things that stands out for me in terms of this particular position is that it seems to be, identifying specifically, and I know we discussed this a little bit through the bill, but we were waiting for the description. My understanding is that this is to kind of separate the more kind of hardware, software, part of Department of Technology Services in terms of who will be doing that. And this is more about, strategy or ways that we can really employ technology and then just kind of being ahead of the digital progressions, et cetera. Is that something that you would agree with? And when you see this particular description, is there anything that jumps out at you, et cetera?
Yeah, thank you for that. Already the Government Operations Committee has been urging the executive branch to look comprehensively across the entire Montgomery County government and indeed the agencies that you also fund through the budget process and look for this digital transformation. This is a step in the right direction. You notice that unlike the other two positions that I'll cover that are within DTS, this one reports directly to the CAO. So as a consequence, it is a welcome initiative. I'll point out one other thing, that this position is given the responsibility to look at cybersecurity issues across the government, something that the DTS director does not have the authority to do. So for those reasons, I think I definitely endorse it. It's along the lines that you as a committee have been encouraging the executive to go, and I think it's going to be a great resource at the executive level, not within the Department of Technology Services, to help implement these strategic initiatives.
Thank you, and really do want to commend the executive for responding to this in this way. I mean, it really does help that he used to be a council member because we've had, these conversations time and time again, and it is important to differentiate these two functions so that we can stay ahead of, what is obviously a rapidly evolving area. So I do want to acknowledge that. Councilmember Friedson.
Yes, thank you. I saw that the mention of the ITPCC was here. It wasn't clear to me whether this person would staff the ITPCC as for the executive branch, whether they would advise. I mean, I think it's really important because it would seem to me that the director of the department would be the subject matter person there, but that this person would want to interface with that because we do have this great, I think, underutilized asset in the county that's supposed to be having everybody at the table. And I think this individual to interface with that would make sense, but it wasn't clear to me in the description what the executive branch's view would be on how this data officer, as the council president mentioned, in terms of the kind of big picture technology and innovation, which I always had thought that that's really what the ITPCC is there for, to have everybody at the table. This person could kind of consolidate under one person's job and have it outside the department, which I think is terrific. But do we have any idea of what the specific interface between this role and the ITPCC would be?
Thanks for raising that. So two important things to mention. First of all, the ITPCC is under a period of transition. And you as a committee heard, and the full council indeed, heard from Andrew Klein, our CAO, who intends to reinvigorate and kind of step up the game of the ITPCC. Currently, the ITPCC staff support is on the council side. We had a staff analyst by the name of Gary Thomas, who retired at the end of December, and Ms. Michelson made the decision to postpone filling that position immediately until it was clear which direction ITPCC was to take. It's my expectation that sometime later this summer, Mr. Klein will come back to the GO committee with some thoughts about the ITPCC direction, and at that point, you will have a chance to engage a little bit more directly with the staffing component, whether it should stay on the council side, whether it should go back to the executive branch where it was until 2015 or so. The chief digital officer would certainly have an input into the deliberations of the ITPCC, but I don't think the legislation foresees that he or she would actually staff the ITPCC.
Thank you. And the only other thing that I would have related to this, and I think it's a good development, I'd be remiss if we didn't mention that we don't have a technology director either currently. And so I hope that we're going to staff both of these positions as expeditiously as possible. A broader challenge that we have that I know the council president has recently sent a memo over and asked for some specifics, but I think as we talk about this chief digital officer and more broadly about just new positions, that we make sure that we're filling the positions that we do currently have, that are funded, that are approved, and that need to help us to fulfill the mission of doing the public's work.
Okay, so the council staff recommends approval of the Executive Regulation 9-19 as submitted by the county executive. Any objection to that? Okay, thank you so much. All right. Number 4 is a work session on Executive Regulation 7-19. But the position description is for the Chief Equity Officer in the Office of the County Executive. And the council, again, supported this position when it reviewed and adopted Bill 3-19, Administration Executive Branch, non-merit positions on March 9th of this year. Some of the duties included in the position description are: this person would identify disparities and the systemic causes that may exist within the county's departments and community, oversee the design, coordination, and implementation of programs, policies, and practices aimed at addressing the systemic disparities existing in the delivery of county services, will develop methods to determine how disparate impacts will be documented and evaluated, and collects, evaluates, and analyzes indicators and progress benchmarks related to addressing systemic disparities. And the council staff is recommending approval as submitted by the county executive. I will only note that, of course, the council is engaged in partnership with the administration in work in this particular arena with the intent of adopting legislation at the end of the year. And so although I am, satisfied with this job description, we just want to acknowledge that there might be things included in this particular legislation that may somehow have to amend this job description and or add other positions, or perhaps there might be a unit that will be called for in the legislation. So although this is before us, most likely there might be some changes as a result of the legislation this year. Okay. Any questions from my colleagues? All right, without objection, we accept this job description. Great. Item number 5 is the Executive Regulation 12-19 position description for the Deputy Director for Results in the Office of Management and Budget. And this particular position, again, we did support when we reviewed Bill 3-19. And under Method 1, a regulation proposed under this method is not adopted until the County Council approves it. The council staff recommends approval of this particular regulation. And I see Ms. Linda Price and not Mr. DeFazio, which is slated here. Anything you would like to add regarding this particular regulation?
No, just that the council was in support of it during review of the budget as well. And again, just echoing the council staff approval.
Okay. And we do have page a Circle 4 example of the duties, and it talks about establishing the county's overall fiscal planning guidelines and specific budget guidelines to executive branch departments based on county's fiscal plan and economic forecast, collecting information from various sources, and analyzing complex problems to identify options and recommend funding levels, including solutions to close budget gaps, in the county's annual operating budget consistent with the county executive policy priorities, directing development of all budget adjustments, including supplemental appropriations, budget amendments, and savings plan appropriation reductions, et cetera. So with that, I don't see any lights. Any objection to this description? So Council Vice President Katz says that we're good. So with that, we will move forward and accept this. Item number 6, it's Executive Regulation 2-19, position description for the Deputy Director of the Department of General Services. This particular regulation, let's see here, it says here that we do have Mr. Assad, but I also saw Mr. Dice here as well. And following also the enactment of this bill, it converts the position of Deputy Director, DGS, from a merit to non-merit system position. And the incumbent Deputy Director would have his merit system status grandfather, but his successful would be non-merit. Let's see, Councilmember Friedson.
Yeah, it's really just a point of clarification. There's an incumbent in this position who may or may not be. So how does that work? If we adopt this, since the incumbent is grandfathered into the, my interest is protecting the incumbent and making sure, which is the position description exactly the same, except it just changes merit to non-merit? Or are there any tangible changes to that position description aside from that? I don't know if Mr. Dice can come up and explain. Because this one's a little bit different than the others where those are prospective. This is one where for the next person to fill that job, which I would just want to go on record, I hope is not anytime soon, maybe not anytime that I'm here, but.
Well, it's not today.
Yeah, good. Good. Well, we'll see what I say.
Yeah. David Dice, Director, General Services. It is the same job description, and as you mentioned, the position is currently occupied quite ably, I might add, by Mr. Austin. And it is correct that in the event that someone eventually has to refill that position, hopefully it won't be me, then it would become a non-merit appointed position.
And there's no other change besides merit and non-merit?
There is no other
Okay.
change.
I just didn't want to get into a situation where we're, these position descriptions are also how you evaluate
That's
your
correct.
team, and I just wanted to make sure that there wasn't confusion with two different position descriptions and that was clarified.
No,
So
it is the same position.
I appreciate it. That's all I needed to know. Thank you. And I agree with your assessment.
Well, that doesn't happen all the time, Mr. Dice, so let's go ahead and celebrate that.
I'm basking in the agreement.
You are basking in the agreement. All right, Ms. Price, anything else?
Just one minor thing. There is a typo that needs to be corrected in the version that the council approves. It's on Circle 5. They have statement, and it's really state. So just getting a new one sent over, that will be included in the resolution that the council would approve.
Thank you for catching that. Okay, so hearing no objection, I think that we approve. Thank you very much. Okay. Executive, item number 7 is Executive Regulation 6-19. The position description is for the Chief Broadband Officer of the Department of Technology Services. And we do have Dr. Torregas here, and I'll just turn it over to you, Dr. Torregas, to tell us about this.
Again, as you know, the council has reviewed this position before. I did give some possible discussion topics for you to consider, but it has as an analyst, it has my full support. It's an existing position, already budgeted, and with someone in the position who is grandfathered as a merit employee. So this would apply for if he would choose to retire at some point or be promoted out of the position.
We do have some items on page 2, but I think that I would like to incorporate those when we come back to this issue. They are very important observations that I think we do need to consider. But I think for the purposes of this particular job description and regulation, I'd like to go ahead and approve that, or and then come back to those topics later on. Council Vice President Katz.
Thank you, and I'm in agreement. And I think that the very first one on page 2 about we're going to be entering into cable franchise negotiations in the upcoming calendar year. So we need to be hiring this person as quickly as we can so that they will be involved in this.
So clarification, there is a person in the position already, and we did away with the position of cable administrator.
Right.
Oh, I see.
So the
That's
point
the
is
difference.
that he is going to have a big stack of things to do, including a major responsibility for the refranchise discussions with two different franchisees. So it's just a point of clarification in terms of the workload that will meet.
And I think that's very fair, and I think that the executive branch should consider that as well. The cable frame, I guess it's a 15-year negotiation that the contracts, require. It's a very important thing that when these things happen, of course, it changes dramatically from what the FCC is saying we can and cannot do. I think it's very necessary that that person is not overworked so that we can come up with the best franchise we can come up with. Thank you.
All right, so hearing an objection, we will adopt this particular regulation, 6-19. Thank you. Item number 8. This is Executive Regulation 5-19, position description for the Chief Data Officer in the Department of Technology Services. Council staff recommends approval of this regulation establishing the Chief Data Officer as submitted by the County Executive. All right, anything you'd like to add for this item, Dr.
No, again, clarification that it is someone who's already in the position, it's budgeted already, and having a data officer across applications, I think is a useful concept. Mm-hmm. It simplifies things like security again, it simplifies things like development costs, perhaps standardizes some things across departments of Montgomery County government. So this is a position that is, it reflects good, if not best practice in other counties.
Great. Councilmember Friedson.
Thank you, Council President. I don't have any issues with this particular regulation. I just, before we concluded, speaking of the broader package here, I just wanted to reiterate what the committee had previously requested and just make sure that we get it in a timely manner, the final breakdown of what the cost savings are from the changes of the positions during the budget process. The considerable confusion that started in this committee as we looked at some of the new positions that have been created and the changes came into considerable focus and I think added to some of that confusion. And I'm hopeful that now that we're through the budget, that the fiscal year is about to begin, that we can get that transmitted to us in a timely manner and if need be, have time to discuss it in a public setting, depending on what gets transmitted, and just reiterate the letter that the council president that I thought was a terrific letter on an update on the vacancies, particularly at the highest levels of government, and why that is so important. And so I see Mr. Tibbetts is here. I just wanted to make sure I reiterated that, particularly what this committee had requested. It's not a criticism that it hasn't happened yet. I just wanted to reiterate it now that we're through the budget and, maybe the opportunity to begin having those answers as this process unfolds and the math work that is necessary can be done so we can determine where we are in terms of the $775,000 in savings that we were indicated would be available as a result of these changes.
Thank you. Okay, so without objection, I think that we then are ready to adopt as well this item number 8, which is Executive Regulation 5-19. Yes? Okay, so with that, we are adjourned. Thank you.
US 29 corridor and on County Cable Montgomery.
Travel slow on Interstate 270 in the following locations.
Northbound from Father Hurley Boulevard to the truck scales.
Travel slow on Interstate 495 in the following locations.
On the inner loop of the I-495 from Connecticut Avenue, Maryland 185 to George Avenue, Maryland 97.
For current and ride-on bus schedule information, please call the Transit Information Center at 240-777-7433.
We will continue to monitor transportation conditions throughout the day. When those conditions change, this station is updated with up-to-date transportation information to aid you in your daily commute. You are listening to the Montgomery County Transportation Management Center's Travelers Advisory Radio System, WPBJ 590 AM on the Interstate 270 corridor, WPDD 1070 AM on the US 29 corridor, and on County Cable Montgomery.
Travel slow on Interstate 270 in the following locations.
Northbound from Father Hurley Boulevard to the truck scales.
Travel slow on Interstate 495 in the following locations.
On the inner loop of the I-495 from Connecticut Avenue, Maryland 185 to George Avenue, Maryland 97.
For current and ride-on bus schedule information, please call the Transit Information Center at 240-777-7433.
We will continue to monitor transportation conditions throughout the day. When those conditions change, this station is updated with up-to-date transportation information to aid you in your daily commute. You are listening to the Montgomery County Transportation Management Center's Travelers Advisory Radio System, WPBJ 590 AM on the Interstate 270 corridor, WPDD 1070 AM on the US 29 corridor, and on County Cable Montgomery.
Travel slow on Interstate 270 in the following locations.
Northbound from Father Hurley Boulevard to the truck scales.
Travel slow on Interstate 495 in the following locations.
On the inner loop of the I-495 from Connecticut Avenue, Maryland 185 to George Avenue, Maryland 97.
For current and ride-on bus schedule information, please call the Transit Information Center at 240-777-7433.
We will continue to monitor transportation conditions throughout the day. When those conditions change, this station is updated with up-to-date transportation information to aid you in your daily commute. You are listening to the Montgomery County Transportation Management Center's Travelers Advisory Radio System, WPBJ 590 AM on the Interstate 270 corridor, WPDD 1070 AM on the US 29 corridor, and on County Cable Montgomery.
Travel slow on Interstate 270 in the following locations.
Northbound from Father Hurley Boulevard to the truck scales.
Travel slow on Interstate 495 in the following locations.
On the inner loop of the I-495 from Connecticut Avenue, Maryland 185 to George Avenue, Maryland 97.
For current and ride-on bus schedule information, please call the Transit Information Center at 240-777-7433.
We will continue to monitor transportation conditions throughout the day. When those conditions change, this station is updated with up-to-date transportation information to aid you in your daily commute. You are listening to the Montgomery County Transportation Management Center's Travelers Advisory Radio System, WPBJ 590 AM on the Interstate 270 corridor, WPDD 1070 AM on the US 29 corridor, and on County Cable Montgomery.
Travel slow on Interstate 270 in the following locations.
Northbound from Father Hurley Boulevard to the truck scales.
Travel slow on Interstate 495 in the following locations.
On the inner loop of the I-495 from Connecticut Avenue, Maryland 185 to George Avenue, Maryland 97.
For current and ride-on bus schedule information, please call the Transit Information Center at 240-777-7433.
We will continue to monitor transportation conditions throughout the day. When those conditions change, this station is updated with up-to-date transportation information to aid you in your daily commute. You are listening to the Montgomery County Transportation Management Center's Travelers Advisory Radio System, WPBJ 590 AM on the Interstate 270 corridor, WPDD 1070 AM on the US 29 corridor, and on County Cable Montgomery.
Travel slow on Interstate 270 in the following locations.
Northbound from Father Hurley Boulevard to the truck scales.
Travel slow on Interstate 495 in the following locations.
On the inner loop of the I-495 from Connecticut Avenue, Maryland 185 to George Avenue, Maryland 97.
For current and ride-on bus schedule information, please call the Transit Information Center at 240-777-7433.
We will continue to monitor transportation conditions throughout the day. When those conditions change, this station is updated with up-to-date transportation information to aid you in your daily commute. You are listening to the Montgomery County Transportation Management Center's Travelers Advisory Radio System, WPBJ 590 AM on the Interstate 270 corridor, WPDD 1070 AM on the US 29 corridor, and on County Cable Montgomery.
Travel slow on Interstate 270 in the following locations.
Northbound from Father Hurley Boulevard to the truck scales.
Travel slow on Interstate 495 in the following locations.
On the inner loop of the I-495 from Connecticut Avenue, Maryland 185 to George Avenue, Maryland 97.
For current and ride-on bus schedule information, please call the Transit Information Center at 240-777-7433.
We will continue to monitor transportation conditions throughout the day. When those conditions change, this station is updated with up-to-date transportation information to aid you in your daily commute. You are listening to the Montgomery County Transportation Management Center's Travelers Advisory Radio System, WPBJ 590 AM on the Interstate 270 corridor, WPDD 1070 AM on the US 29 corridor, and on County Cable Montgomery.
Travel slow on Interstate 270 in the following locations.
Northbound from Father Hurley Boulevard to the truck scales.
Travel slow on Interstate 495 in the following locations.
On the inner loop of the I-495 from Connecticut Avenue, Maryland 185 to George Avenue, Maryland 97.
For current and ride-on bus schedule information, please call the Transit Information Center at 240-777-7433.
We will continue to monitor transportation conditions throughout the day. When those conditions change, this station is updated with up-to-date transportation information to aid you in your daily commute. You are listening to the Montgomery County Transportation Management Center's Travelers Advisory Radio System, WPBJ 590 AM on the Interstate 270 corridor, WPDD 1070 AM on the US 29 corridor, and on County Cable Montgomery.
Travel slow on Interstate 270 in the following locations.
Northbound from Father Hurley Boulevard to the truck scales.
Travel slow on Interstate 495 in the following locations.
On the inner loop of the I-495 from Connecticut Avenue, Maryland 185 to George Avenue, Maryland 97.
For current and ride-on bus schedule information, please call the Transit Information Center at 240-777-7433.
We will continue to monitor transportation conditions throughout the day. When those conditions change, this station is updated with up-to-date transportation information to aid you in your daily commute. You are listening to the Montgomery County Transportation Management Center's Travelers Advisory Radio System, WPBJ 590 AM on the Interstate 270 corridor, WPDD 1070 AM on the US 29 corridor, and on County Cable Montgomery.
Travel slow on Interstate 270 in the following locations.
Northbound from Father Hurley Boulevard to the truck scales.
Travel slow on Interstate 495 in the following locations.
On the inner loop of the I-495 from Connecticut Avenue, Maryland 185 to George Avenue, Maryland 97.
For current and ride-on bus schedule information, please call the Transit Information Center at 240-777-7433.
We will continue to monitor transportation conditions throughout the day. When those conditions change, this station is updated with up-to-date transportation information to aid you in your daily commute. You are listening to the Montgomery County Transportation Management Center's Travelers Advisory Radio System, WPBJ 590 AM on the Interstate 270 corridor, WPDD 1070 AM on the US 29 corridor, and on County Cable Montgomery.
Travel slow on Interstate 270 in the following locations.
Northbound from Father Hurley Boulevard to the truck scales.
Travel slow on.
We will continue to monitor transportation conditions throughout the day. When those conditions change, this station is updated with up-to-date transportation information to aid you in your daily commute. You are listening to the Montgomery County Transportation Management Center's Travelers Advisory Radio System, WPBJ 590 AM on the Interstate 270 corridor, WPDD 1070 AM on the US 29 corridor, and on County Cable Montgomery.
Travel slow on Interstate 270 in the following locations.
Northbound from Father Hurley Boulevard to the truck scales.
Travel slow on Interstate 495 in the following locations.
On the inner loop of the I-495 from Connecticut Avenue, Maryland 185 to George Avenue, Maryland 96.